Welcome to BookCast FM, bringing books to life one cast at a time. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a really insightful book, Pema Chödrön's Getting Unstuck, breaking your habitual patterns and encountering naked reality.
Yeah, this one's for anyone who feels, kind of trapped. Maybe it's procrastination, maybe anxiety, or just getting angry over the same things again and again.
Definitely.
Chödrön gives us more than just philosophy here. It's like a practical map of how suffering works in our minds, and crucially, how we can actually start to dismantle those patterns that feel so locked in.
And right off the bat, the core idea is pretty challenging, isn't it? She argues suffering doesn't really come from the painful things that happen to us. It comes from our resistance to them, how we fight against the discomfort. She calls it the tightening, and that's what gets us stuck.
It really flips things on its head.
Yeah.
Because our instinct, biologically even, is to pull away,
Yeah.
to resist pain. But doing that, contracting like that, just fuels the cycle. So Chödrön's path is, well, it's radical. It's about choosing awareness, even courage, instead of just avoiding things.
Okay, but before we get to the courage part, we need to understand the trap itself. How does it work?
Exactly. And that brings us to this foundational Tibetan idea that runs through the whole book, Shenpa.
Shenpa. Now, I might just think that means getting hooked or attached, but she defines it much more specifically, doesn't she?
She does, yeah. What's fascinating is that Shenpa isn't the big emotion like full-blown anger or craving. It's the urge right before that.
The urge.
Yeah, that tiny, microsecond tightening or contraction inside. That feeling of being snagged, mentally or emotionally, by a thought, a feeling, an impulse. It's the spark.
Okay, so if my boss criticizes my work, the criticism happens.
That's the trigger.
Right. And the Shenpa isn't me being furious later. It's that instantaneous clench inside, that hot feeling and the immediate urge to snap back or defend myself.
That's it, exactly. The urge to act on the feeling without even thinking.
Yeah.
That's Shenpa. Got it.
And once that initial tightening happens, that Shenpa kicks in, the automatic reaction almost always follows. We lash out, or maybe we numb ourselves, scroll our phones, eat something.
Or just shut down.
Right. Retreat. And every time we do that, it just digs the groove deeper. It reinforces those habits, those neural pathways that keep us stuck doing the same thing over and over.
So the goal isn't to stop feeling the urge.
Yeah.
Because that sounds impossible.
Totally impossible, yeah. The goal is just to notice it, to become aware of that moment of getting hooked.
And she gives a tool for that, right? The labeling practice.
Yes, simple but powerful. When you feel that familiar inner stir, that tightness, that craving, that irritation starting, you just mentally note it. You say to yourself, this is Shenpa.
Just naming it. This is Shenpa.
Exactly. No judgment, just naming it. And that simple act creates a tiny bit of space. It interrupts the automatic chain reaction just for a split second.
And that awareness itself starts to loosen the grip.
It does. Recognition is the first step to freedom, as she points out. Okay, so we spot the Shenpa, the hook, but then what? How do we actually stop ourselves from taking the bait and reacting in the same old way? That seems to be the next big step.
It is. And that takes us into creating space, consciously, which is all about the pause.
The pause, okay.
So if Shenpa is that lightning strike, the hook, then the pause is like our escape hatch.
Okay.
It's that deliberate gap we create between the trigger, the criticism, the urge, whatever it is, and our usual reaction.
That sounds hard. Feels like it takes real bravery.
It is an act of bravery because in that pause, you have to be willing to just sit with the raw energy of the emotion without immediately covering it up or distracting yourself or launching into the story about why you feel that way.
But isn't avoiding pain just like a survival thing? How do we override that impulse to run?
Well, the key insight here is that the emotion itself isn't the problem. Our resistance to feeling it is the problem. The pause lets us experience that discomfort as just energy, energy moving through us.
Energy, not an enemy.
Exactly. If we don't fight it, it tends to move and shift. If we tense up against it, the tightening, it gets stuck and solidifies. The pause is where we can actually test this out for ourselves.
And she gives a practical way to do this too, the 3-breath practice.
Yes, very actionable. The moment you feel triggered, you just stop. Stop everything.
Yeah.
And consciously take 3 slow, deep breaths.
Okay, 3 breaths.
And here's the critical part. Focus completely on the physical sensations in your body. Where do you feel it? Is it heat in your chest, tightness in your jaw, a churning in your stomach? Stay with the sensations, not the story in your head.
So pull attention away from the mental drama and into the body.
Precisely. It grounds you. It pulls you out of that narrative loop. As Chödrön puts it, the pause gives those habitual patterns a chance to dissolve before they harden into that chain reaction. It gives you back that moment of choice.
Okay, so the pause buys us time. It creates space. But then what do we do in that space with that raw feeling we've decided not to run from?
Right, that leads us to the next practice, which is softening.
Softening. That sounds like the opposite of the tightening of Shenpa.
It's exactly the counterpoint. Our instinct when we feel pain or discomfort is to harden, right? We clench our fists, tense our shoulders, maybe grit our teeth.
Close off our heart, withdraw.
Yes, we cut ourselves off from the experience. Softening is this radical act of deciding to do the opposite, to consciously relax into the feeling instead of bracing against it.
Radical tenderness, she calls it, towards ourselves.
That's a great way to put it. It means allowing the feelings to just be there, unfold naturally. And practically, it involves consciously relaxing those places we hold tension, unclenching the jaw, dropping the shoulders, softening the belly.
So it's moving from fighting ourselves to being curious.
Yes, gentle curiosity. Instead of trying to fix the sadness or get rid of the anger, you just stay with the physical sensation. Like, where is that anger actually felt? Is it buzzing? Is the sadness like a weight? You approach it gently?
Like learning to stay with vulnerability, as she says.
Exactly. Staying with the rawness without needing to immediately fix it or push it away.
Okay, so we've got recognizing the hook, Shenpa, creating a break with the pause, and then choosing to soften into the feeling. This feels like a lot of work in the moment. How do we build the capacity for this?
That's where the training ground comes in. And for Chödrön, that's meditation.
Meditation, but maybe not in the way people always think about it.
Right. She emphasizes it's not primarily about becoming super serene or stopping all your thoughts. That's not really the point. The core practice, often called shamatha, is about practicing the return.
The return, what does that mean?
It means your mind will wander. That's what minds do. It'll get hooked by thoughts, memories, plans, anxieties. Shenpa happens even in meditation, hundreds of times.
Okay.
The practice is simply noticing, mind wandered, or hooked. And then gently, without beating yourself up, bring your attention back. Usually back to the feeling of the breath.
So it's the coming back that's the key part.
Yes. That gentle, repeated returning is what builds the muscle. It strengthens the awareness you need out in the world to spot Shenpa when it happens, and then to actually use the pause and choose to soften. She calls it training in self-friendship.
Self-friendship, I like that.
Every time you return to the breath without criticizing yourself for wandering, you're practicing unconditional kindness towards your own mind, your own messy humanness. Like she says, the point isn't to get good at meditation. It's to get good at being alive.
Dealing with life as it actually is, yeah. Unpredictable.
And interestingly, when you cultivate that kind of friendliness towards yourself, seeing your own patterns non-judgmentally, it naturally extends outwards.
How so?
Well, when you see clearly how easily you get hooked, how often Shenpa trips you up, you start to realize, oh, everyone else is dealing with this too. Every single person struggles with these same inner knots and reactions.
It breaks down that feeling of being alone in our struggles.
Exactly. It dissolves what she calls the illusion of separation. We see our shared humanity in the struggle.
And this leads to one of the most challenging but maybe transformative practices in the book.
Tonglen.
Ah, yes, Tonglen. Sending and taking. It's a Tibetan meditation practice, and it is, well, it's radically counterintuitive. It directly reverses our usual habit of avoiding pain.
Okay, how does it work?
It requires real courage. You sit and you intentionally visualize breathing in the suffering. Your own pain, or the pain of others, you might visualize it as dark, heavy smoke or clouds.
Breathing in the bad stream.
Breathing it in, taking it on, and then on the exhale, you intentionally send out the opposite: warmth, relief, peace, freedom. You might visualize it as bright light or space or coolness.
Wow, so you're actively turning towards difficulty instead of away. Breathing in pain, breathing out relief.
Yes. It trains the heart in compassion by acknowledging that compassion has to include the difficult stuff, not just wish it away. As Chödrön says, when we see that everyone gets hooked, our hearts naturally open.
So putting it all together, recognizing Shenpa, pausing, softening, meditating, practicing Tonglen, this all leads towards what she calls freedom. Freedom through awareness, yeah.
But it's important how she defines that freedom, isn't it? It's not like suddenly all problems disappear or we achieve perfect control.
Not at all. Freedom, in this context, is the capacity to stay present and open no matter what's happening. To meet life directly as it is without adding layers of resistance or story.
This is what she means by encountering naked reality.
I think so, yeah. Experiencing life unfiltered, Raw, honest, without our usual defenses and narratives always running. True peace, she suggests, is found right there, in that direct meeting.
And a big part of that is accepting impermanence.
Absolutely crucial. She constantly reminds us that everything is always coming together and falling apart. That's the nature of things. Freedom involves learning to relax into that natural flow, that rhythm, instead of fighting it, which is what Shenpa, that urge to grasp or push away, always tries to do.
So every time we notice the hook, the Shenpa, and we choose to pause, choose to soften, we're weakening that old habit.
Exactly. The cycle loses its power bit by bit. Liberation isn't some far-off destination. It happens right here, in these small moments of choosing awareness over reactivity.
Which leads to that powerful idea. When you are fully present, nothing is ever truly unbearable.
Yeah, because the suffering comes mostly from our story about the pain, our resistance to the pain. When we just meet the direct experience openly, it changes.
That really brings it all together. So just to recap the path for you listening. First, learn to recognize Shenpa, that feeling of getting hooked, that urge.
Then practice the pause, maybe using the 3-breath technique to create space between the trigger and your reaction.
Use that space to practice softening, relaxing into the feeling with a gentle curiosity instead of hardening against it.
Use meditation as your training ground to build that muscle of awareness and self-friendship. And maybe explore Tonglen to cultivate compassion for yourself and everyone else caught in these same loops.
And perhaps the most provocative idea to leave you with is this.
Yeah, the realization that the journey isn't really about reaching some perfect state where you're permanently unstuck. It's more about the ongoing willingness.
The willingness to just show up.
To fully inhabit your own raw, messy, imperfect life again and again with as much bravery and tenderness as you can muster in that moment. That continual choice, that is freedom itself.
Really powerful stuff. If this discussion sparked something for you, we definitely encourage you to dive deeper and support the author. Pick up a copy of Pema Chödrön's Getting Unstuck. We'll put a link in the description.
It's definitely worth the read.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. This has been BookCast FM, bringing books to life one cast at a time.